Setting up na, Doc.
Wala siya. Internet ko siya. Ano siguro?
Doc, pwede na ito ka-start, Doc.
Okay. Go. Sige.
Doc.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning to Regional Director, Jail Chief Superintendent Arnold Banacosa, NHQ Health Service Division Chief, Ma'am Rita Maderaso, unit jail personnel as well as regional personnel, health and nurse personnel, and of course, my very good friend, Dr. Hamolo. I am greatly honored and privileged to be invited as one of your speakers today, and you're very blessed that you have Dr. Hamolo. She's been dedicated and very eager to help all of you to live a more better and healthier lifestyle. So now may I ask you, who among you consider yourself healthy? To those who have high blood diabetes, high cholesterol, don't worry. I'm sure at the end of my lecture, we will not only treat it, we will prevent it and even reverse this lifestyle-related diseases. So now for my objectives, we will know the common lifestyle-related diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, and fatty liver disease, its causes and how to prevent it through changes in the food we eat, exercise, good sleep, and coping with stress. I'll also be discussing about smoking and alcohol. So in this data, this is just to show you that among the top leading causes of death in the Philippines in January 2019 to 2020 by the Department of Health, heart disease, stroke, and cancers as well as diabetes are the most common. Worldwide, the top 5 causes of deaths are still heart disease, diabetes, cancer, stroke, and lung diseases, which are all lifestyle related. Researchers have been studying the human genes for how many years and have found no interactions between genetic risk profiles and lifestyle. The role of genes made little contribution to health outcomes for these chronic diseases, and the fault does not appear to lie in our genes, but our choices, because evidence shows that one's genes do not necessarily define one's health. It's like a gun. I know all of you have guns. So our genes, or ang ginatawag naton nga sulundon sa pamilya, are the bullets or ang bala. Our lifestyle choices will be the trigger for these chronic diseases to explode. So we don't have to blame our genes, but actually it's our bad habits that is triggering this disease. In this data, it shows that genetics may only account for about 15 to 20% of the disease. Like for example, genetic influence in heart disease is only 21%, or stroke, for example, is only 13.8%. So in short, 80 to 90% is actually influenced by our lifestyle. So why do we have these lifestyle-related diseases? I'd like to show you a short video to explain how we develop these chronic diseases.
Hello, Doc.
Yes, Mark.
Hindi siya bation, Doc, ang audio.
Atiliwaton ta? Wala siya audio. Marts, paano Marts? Stop ka na. Marts? Stop ta na.
Doc, i-stop mo, anay. Ang share mo bala, Doc, dapat share, tapos click mo ang advance, pati, share, tapos
okay.
share screen sa dalom, Doc, may ara na, Doc, nga, ano,
paano siya?
may ara na siya, Doc, nga, ano, Doc, nga,
balik ko.
Kailangan.
Then. More, sa more na siya, hindi naman. Kailangan.
Dito na lang takaroon, Doc, ma-start talk sa may video na, Doc.
Okay, dahil lang ha.
Wala, lang.
Ano to Marts?
Dapat pag-share mo sang screen, Dok, sa dalo may ara sa Dok daw ata nga maklik ka, Dok, nga share computer sound.
Sabi siya, kailangan makatudlo ko na. Sound.
Okay na tong una mo, Dok, i-trim ta lang to.
Share sound. Ang tawabi, Mars, i-play ko ha. Ang tawabi.
Ara na.
Let's see. I am looking for my medical dictionary. Inflammation.
Si ano, liwaton ko? Hindi ko maliwat.
Sa video na lang, Dok.
Video na lang. So, go ha. Go na?
Sige, Dok.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Let's see. I am looking for my medical dictionary. Inflammation. Here we go. Aha, here we go. The definition of inflammation, derived from the Latin inflammare, meaning to set on fire. When you hear the term inflammation, what comes to mind? Joint pain after a long workout? Redness and swelling after a bee sting? These are examples of acute inflammation, or inflammation specific to one area of the body. Now we're learning much more about another kind of inflammation, chronic inflammation. And your level of chronic inflammation may be very telling about what the future holds for your health. Let's return to the example of the bee sting. In most cases, a person's white blood cells fight off foreign substances, in this case, the poison from the bee sting. White blood cells release powerful chemicals which can damage tissues, causing the redness and swelling that you see after the bee sting. So let's look at this on a larger scale. Say you're someone who eats a lot of processed and refined foods. These foods contain substances that your body doesn't know what to do with. Just as your immune system reacts to the poison from the bee sting, it also reacts to the substances from these foods. Over time, this leads to a general state of inflammation in your whole body. This is when the light bulb goes off when we discuss this with our patients. It's basic. When you don't treat your body well, your immune system attacks, but it's a silent war, one that takes place over time. You don't feel the effects right away. Day after day, white blood cells release a host of chemicals which can damage all of the tissues in your body. Your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, increasing your risk of having a heart attack, a stroke, or even developing diabetes. We are just beginning to understand the relationship between chronic inflammation and cancer, and neurologic disorders such as Alzheimer's disease. Needless to say, the effects of chronic inflammation can be devastating. Sounds scary? It's a wake-up call for sure, but it's also very exciting because we are identifying new ways of treating, detecting, and preventing chronic inflammation. Now we understand. If you eat unhealthy food, your immune system is stuck in a never-ending war. Tissue damage will go on and on and on. So how do you calm your immune system down? Well, the first step is to change what's on your plate. Number 1, go for veggies, veggies, veggies. To the white blood cell, a nutrient from a healthy vegetable is an ally, a trusted friend. When you eat your veggies, you'll be inviting your body to a ceasefire and calling an end to the war going on inside. Number 2, antioxidants. Blueberries, cherries, pomegranates. There are so many delicious foods that contain antioxidants. These are substances that reduce tissue damage. They can do a lot to protect your internal organs. And number 3, fish. Certain types of oily fish, the types that contain omega-3 fatty acids, can do a lot to calm an overactive immune system. Fish oil supplements can also be helpful here. Ask your doctor how much you need and which forms are best for you. As a physician, I'm excited that we are learning so much about the relationship between chronic inflammation and the diseases that affect so many of my patients. My prescription for you: treat your body well every day so that your immune system can take care of the simple things, like bee stings.
So what was shown in the video, these chronic diseases come from chronic inflammation. In short, sa Ilonggo, madugay nga pagkamaga sang cell sa lawas, which results to damage to different parts of the body. Ang ini nga inflammation naghalin sa aton mga ginakaon, smoking, stress, alcohol, sa pollution, kag mga kagaw. And in effect, it weakens our immune response or ang pagbato sa mga kagaw and mga balatian like heart disease, diabetes, cancers, stroke, and other lifestyle-related diseases. So again, to summarize the effects of inflammation, it can cause memory loss. Kisa tingala ka, bata ka pa, lilipaton ka na, or ginatawag naton na brain fog or gaka-blackout. And if you check the laboratories, tag-as gali ang mga blood sugar, cholesterol, uric acid, it also increases cardiovascular risk. Mas prone ka sa mga sakit sa korason kag heart attack. Gahina imo resistensya nga magbato sa mga balitian because you don't have enough cells in your body. Loss of muscle tone or paghina sang pwersa, weight gain or obese ka, kay gahinay imo metabolism or ang pagtunaw sang fat sa imo lawas. Accelerated skin aging, kis tingala ka, bata ka pa, pero nagda-dry kag may mga wrinkles ka na. And ang pinaka-common kag ang mga panalakit sa lawas or ang arthritis. And so because of this chronic inflammation caused by your unhealthy lifestyle, kay palakaon ka sa mga bawal, gapanigarilyo, stress, palainom, you have what we call hypertension and of course other chronic lifestyle-related diseases. So dapat our normal BP should be less than 130/85. Kay ang 140/90 high blood na ini. So I think you were able to get your vital signs earlier. So subong, balaan nyo na kung may high blood ka mo or wala. So a little bit of medical explanation now about high blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, meaning kapoy na or overworked ang imo mga ugat, nga gapump sang blood sa bilog nga lawas. And ang number one cause is what we call atherosclerosis or ang pagtapik sa mga cholesterol from fats sa mga kaugatan sa korason, which could lead to heart failure and other problems in the body just like sa kidney, sa brain, sa bones, kag sa dugo. I just would like to emphasize the number one risk factor in developing hypertension is having excess weight or ikaw overweight and obese or ang ginatawag naton nga metabolic syndrome. So this is very common kay almost 40% of people have metabolic syndrome. So what is this? This is when you have high blood sugar, high blood pressure, cholesterol are all elevated, and you are overweight. So this is just to show you that in the guidelines in the treatment of hypertension, the number one treatment is lifestyle modification. So before initiating medications, we should implement lifestyle modification first. Kay maski ano pa nga bulong, if you have unhealthy lifestyle, you will never achieve a normal BP. So these are the lifestyle modifications that should be done. Number one is to limit salt intake. So avoid salty foods, just such as mga junk foods, processed foods, fast foods, and of course, healthy diet. We have what we call the DASH diet, wherein you eat more of vegetables, fruits, reduced sugar intake, and no saturated or bad fats. Healthy drinks dapat, such as moderate intake of coffee or tea and more of water and fresh juices. Of course, less alcohol. Weight reduction, no smoking, and regular exercise, which I will discuss further now as we go along. This is just to show you that an increase in BP of 120 to 140 is 2 times at risk for heart attack and stroke. And furthermore, if it increased to 160, you have 4 times more risk of having heart attack and stroke. So it is very important to control our blood pressure. You may be familiar with these results, no? Like on ultrasound, may result ka mo nga fatty liver. Your sugar level or ang HbA1c nga ginatawag is elevated. Cholesterol nyo elevated, no? LDL is the bad cholesterol, which is also elevated, and SGPT is also elevated. So this is what we call mild fatty liver. No? So at this point, I'd like to share a short video about fatty liver. So this is what happens when you have fatty liver. From a healthy liver, if there is excess fats in the body, fats will deposit on the liver cells and it will result to fibrosis or kung sa Ilonggo pa, gatiga or scarred ang liver. If not treated or pabayaan lang and you continue to have bad eating habits, it will result to liver damage. And I know you've heard about the term cirrhosis, no? But usually mabatian yun ni nga masakit kung ang tao pala inom or what we call alcoholic liver cirrhosis. So ano ini siya? It actually refers to the late stage of liver disease, from a healthy liver to fibrosis, inflammation, and resulting to cirrhosis, which cannot be reversed or hindi na mag-ayo and will eventually lead to liver failure. But this can be prevented by modifying what you eat, being active, and avoiding excess alcohol. These are the causes of fatty liver. If we could lose weight gradually and in a right way by exercising, eating healthy foods, avoiding carbonated drinks and processed foods, you can actually have nutritional supplements but not overdosing it. No? But again, we emphasize sa aton nga guidelines of treating fatty liver, we always emphasize weight loss and physical activity. So again, we emphasize physical activity to prevent fatty liver. We should exercise. So again, the control measures of having fatty liver is what I've mentioned. Now let's talk about diabetes. I know you're all familiar with this because you might have it. Your parents, grandparents, relatives, or friends. So actually, diabetes is a global pandemic. So like COVID, it's a problem worldwide. There are two types of diabetes. We have the type 1, which is most common in young children, and type 2 in adults. So it is nice to know that 80% could actually be prevented and even reversed by changing our diet and by being physically active, which I'll discuss in details later. So what happens if you have diabetes? So in simpler terms, you have excess or high blood sugar levels. So bali mas damo ang sugar sa imong blood. Again, as I've mentioned earlier, there is chronic inflammation that overwhelms the body, which the cells could not compensate anymore. That's why diabetes sets in. I know you have some idea on what are the common symptoms of diabetes. And I think the most common is that there is a non-healing wound or wala gaayo ang mga pilas. Frequent urination, always thirsty, numbness, blurring of vision, and to some, sexual dysfunction. So basig gareklamo na dang mga asawa or banan yung kagudlay na magduda, pa-check it anay ang blood sugar kay basi amulang na ang problema kag indi man buot silingon na may iba na. So, but what is sad about having diabetes are the complications. It is multi-organ. It can cause kidney failure, stroke, heart attacks, blindness, and infections. That's why in lifestyle medicine, we really aim to prevent rather than treat. If we only have a healthy diet, we exercise, we are not overweight, medications may not be necessary. That's why, again, in the guidelines in the treatment of diabetes, just like hypertension and fatty liver, lifestyle modification is number 1 and highly emphasized. So it is advised that we should lose at least 5 to 10% overweight and should exercise at least 30 minutes every day, as well as eat healthy and nutritious foods found in vegetables, whole grains, and fruits. Because by doing this, by doing all the above-mentioned lifestyle changes, we can not only prevent it, but we can actually reverse diabetes. Because I have patients who are on insulin after several months of following a strict diet of plant-based foods and exercising regularly, they are now off with insulin and has normal blood sugar. So for those who are taking a lot of medications, most especially those on insulin, diabetes could be reversed as long as you'll be committed in changing your lifestyle, because if others can do it, you can do it also. If you take a look at the causes of these chronic diseases, and if there's one thing that is positive with this, the risk factors are all modifiable, or in short, we can prevent it. And we can prevent these diseases by modifying our habits. So now let me ask you, who among you are eating more processed than fresh fruits? More red meat than vegetables? Do you miss breakfast? Palakaon mga junk foods, desserts, no? Midnight snacks, palainom milk tea, Starbucks, no? I'm asking because in my next slides, we will be talking about food nutrition, and we will identify foods that have more health benefits from those that are not. So we encourage you to choose plant-based diets such as vegetables, fruits, and grains, because not only does it contain all the nutrients that is good for you, but it is more practical and readily available. You can save more as compared with meats, processed foods, because not only that is unhealthy, but at the same time, a lot more expensive. So now let us define some terms. What is a calorie? So calorie is the energy that your body could get from what you eat and drink. So in man, it is 2,500 kilocalories, and the normal for women is 2,000 calories. BMR, or the basal metabolic rate, is the calories that your body can burn each day to perform activities, or this is what we call our metabolism. So in excess of these calories, and if you have very unhealthy diet, it will deposit as fats, and you have to do more extra work in order to burn these extra calories. Next is your BMI, or what we call the body mass index. I think you were able to get your BMI earlier, so that is very important because you will know if you are underweight, overweight, or obese. So who among you are underweight, no? And those who have normal weight? Hindi na ko yung mamangkot sa mga overweight. But don't worry, hopefully at the end of my lecture, I will be able to inspire and convince you to have the necessary lifestyle changes to have a better, healthier, and good life. So we've been talking about healthy foods, but to go into specifics as to what foods we must have in our plates, we must know the following required nutrients in our body. Because maybe you might ask, if we go on a plant-based diet, we may lack the sources of our proteins, fats, carbs, and even sugar. So let me just show you a very short video, and we will go on to a more specific discussion regarding food nutrients.
What can you make your family for dinner that's healthy and tastes good? You can follow the plate method. This healthy eating plan works for everybody, including people with diabetes. Indeed, making nutritious, healthy meals will be a snap. What's a healthy plate? It's a way to control your serving sizes where you don't have to count. Simply use a 7-inch plate for children and a 9-inch plate for adults. First, divide the plate in half and fill one of them with vegetables. There are 2 types of vegetables: starchy, like potatoes, corn, peas, or plantains, and non-starchy, like zucchini, jicama, cucumbers, carrots, or salad. If you have diabetes, fill half your plate with non-starchy vegetables. Then fill 1/4 with whole grains or starches, like brown rice, corn, beans, or whole wheat pasta. In the other quarter, add some lean protein like tofu, grilled fish, or chicken. What about adding a side of tortilla or bread? It's hard to resist, I know! The trick is, serve yourself a smaller portion of the other starches on your plate instead. To complete your meal, add a drink like unsweetened coffee, tea, or a glass of milk. But remember that drinking 8 ounces of milk affects your blood sugar just as it would if you ate another tortilla or a slice of bread. Or you can also choose water with a squeeze of lemon or lime. How you create your plate is up to you. You have many options, as long as you remember to follow these healthy guidelines. And ta-da! You're all set! You might be thinking, how can you use the plate method to make vegetable beef soup or other meals? Simply follow the same idea. Fill your pot with low-sodium broth and lots of healthy vegetables like corn, cabbage, zucchini, carrots, and onions. And some lean beef, but not too much. Just like you'd put on 1/4 of your plate for each person you're serving. If you want, add your favorite type of bread on the side. and you've got the right amount for a healthy meal. Enjoy!
So this is what we call a healthy plate, wherein almost 3/4 of our plate should be mostly vegetables. The other 1/4 are whole grains and healthy proteins, and of course, fruits. We can actually get good sources of protein from plant proteins, like for example, ang tofu. What we get from these proteins are what we call the amino acids. When choosing between plant and animal sources, it is important to factor in the other nutrients that the food provides. Sources of animal protein may contain high levels of iron or vitamin B12. Some of the plant-based foods lack these nutrients. But on the other hand, antioxidants or phytonutrients lack in animal protein, and most animal products contain saturated and high cholesterol, and only plant-based foods contain fiber, which helps in our digestion. So eating more plant proteins may improve one's health. Researchers suggested that eating animal protein, most especially processed meat, increases the risk of dying from cardiovascular diseases. So these are our sources of proteins from animal and plants. And actually what we do is we can have a mix of both, but 80 to 90% should be from plant sources and only 10% from animal sources, but preferably just fish and chicken. So this is to show you how you can measure the sizes of your servings. Your fist, for example, is about 1 cup. The palm of your hand is about 3 ounces of meat or almost a gram of meat. So you can use this if you want to measure your servings because, for example, a 3 ounces of meat is equivalent to almost 22 grams of protein. Not all fats are bad, no? But because, of course, we also need a certain amount of fats in our body. But we should choose what kind of fats we should be eating. So these are the good sources of fats, no? Such as nuts, seeds, coconut oils, avocados, eggs as well. But we recommend a maximum of 2 eggs per week because it is very rich in cholesterol. We have the following types of fats. Monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats are actually healthy fats because they supply nutrients such as omega-3 and 6 in the body, while saturated and trans fats are unhealthy because they increase the bad cholesterol in the body, causing heart disease and stroke. Men should have less than 30 grams of saturated fats per day, and women 20 grams per day, and as much as possible, no trans fat for men, women, and children. So I know we eat mostly saturated and trans fats because daw dirigid ang tanan no nga manamit like fried foods, sweets, fast foods like fries, burgers. So in the grocery, you always look at the food label. Dapat 0 ang trans fat and very low ang saturated fats. It should be less than 10% of the total calories or 22 grams or less per day. Just like fats, we also have good sources of carbohydrates. So we have good sources and bad sources of carbohydrates, but carbohydrates are naturally found in plant-based foods and are generally good sources of carbohydrates, while those refined processed foods such as starches and sugars are bad sources. And these are the causes of diabetes. So these are the reasons why we should get our carbs from whole plant-based foods as to compare with the refined and processed foods. Now let's talk about sugars. Actually, we need sugars to make our cells function. But if we have too much of it, it will lead to accumulation of fats and in turn will lead to fatty liver disease, increases risk of heart disease, diabetes, and can raise blood pressure and increase chronic inflammation. And overconsumption of sugar from processed beverages and foods can contribute to obesity, which is a risk factor for cancers. So like proteins, fats, carbs, we also have good and bad sources of sugar. And I know most commonly we get our sugar from bad sources, no? Just like refined breads, sweets, and sodas. There are others who say that we should not eat a lot of fruits kay mataas kuno ang sugar. But actually, fruits are good sources of sugar since they are high in fiber. Wala gataas ang imo insulin, and yes, it's true, taas iya sugar content for some fruits, but fructose is a kind of sugar found in fruits that are healthy. Now we go to salt intake. So the normal salt intake is only 1,500 milligrams per day, and almost 75% of our salt intake comes from processed and fast foods. So usually mga junk foods, takeouts, no, canned foods. So take note when reading food labels. Like for example, in this label, it says 650 milligrams per serving of sodium already. So studies have shown that it's not healthy if there is more than 480 milligrams of sodium per serving. Sometimes mawonder ka nga daw ka bloated, no? Feeling mo ka daw manas ang imo nga lawas and naggutok ikaw sa imo bayo. That's because probably you have consumed too much salt, and kung sobra ang salt sa lawas, you will retain excess fluid. So as you can see at the bottom portion, 1 cup of noodles has already 900 grams sodium. And these are the foods that are really high in sodium. So like I said earlier, you should look on the food labels. So important gid ang calories per serving. And as what I've mentioned earlier, kinahanglan ang trans fat is 0. Ang saturated fat should be less than 10% or 22 grams or less pa. So like diri, definitely hindi ni siya healthy because may trans fat and more than 10% ang saturated fats. And also the sodium intake is very high. No? As what I've mentioned, it should be 450 milligrams or less lang per serving. And dapat it should contain more of the dietary fiber and necessary nutrients. Though familiar gid ang tanan nga mga pagkaon, no? I'm sure we can all relate because we love to eat this all the time. But this is just to show you. Sorry. This is just to show you that we get almost 1,500 calories from these unhealthy foods, no? Like ang burger, ang large fries, ang McFlurry or chocolate sundae, 1,500 calories na ina, no? Isa pa lang na siya ka meal. So we still have 2 more meals in a day. So, and if we are required only 2,000 calories, definitely we will store the extra calories as extra fats, extra carbs, sugars, and salt in our body. But if we have this kind of meal at 1,200 calories, not only it is healthy and a whole balanced diet of vegetables, fruits, grains, 5 meals na in a day at 1,200 calories as compared with the 1,500 calories in one meal that is mostly bad sources of fats, carbs, proteins, and sugar. So this is just to show you that if we get proteins from good sources such as whole grains rather than processed meats, it will really help prevent diabetes. This is to show you that obviously those who are not vegetarian have the highest risk of diabetes. Same with hypertension. Now let's go to physical activity. So who among you do exercise or the gym regularly? So I'm sure wala, no? So exercise is equally important with food nutrition. Because maski ano pa ka diet, if wala ka mo exercise, you will never achieve and maintain your desired weight and of course the health benefits of physical activity. So researchers have showed that for the past years, activity levels of people decreased by 60 to 70% and is one of the factors why there is a high prevalence of these lifestyle-related diseases. And these are the factors. Everything is now digital, no? From remote controls, computers, cell phones, laptops. And of course, almost everyone is on wheels, no? Natamad na maglakad because everything pwede na gani ma-deliver. The recommendation for adults is that they should have 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, just like walking, swimming, or jogging, or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise, no? All adults should have a strengthening exercise such as yoga or weights. This is just to show you that even climbing the stairs can burn calories. This is also to show you that after you consume your favorite fast food meal of 1,300 calories, this is how much time you will spend in exercising in order to burn your extra calories, no? Medyo makapoy. Imagine 4 hours of walking, 2 hours of running. So hindi na lang kamo magkaon fast foods para hindi ka mo kapoy, no? Mag-burn sang extra calories. So again, this is to show you the number of hours, no, of exercise that you should do if you eat these foods. So in just a can of Coke, 23 minutes na ang spend mo mag-exercise, no? Coke pa lang na. If may pares ka pagid nga tortilla chips, another 1 hour pagid. I'd like to show you these nationalities. No, they have long lives actually. No, the Okinawans, Sardinians, Africans, Australians, South Africans. No, these nationalities have what we call the centenarians. Kaya sa ilan nga mga lugar, most of the elders live up to more than 100 years. No, may ara gani 110 years old. Wala mga masakit like diabetes, cancer, high blood because of their healthy lifestyle. They eat plant-based foods and they have regular physical activity like farming, gardening, and walking. They have good social connections and they are at peace with themselves. That's why they live longer. So in order to live longer, no, by 10 more years, researchers have pointed out to be physically active, eat plant-based diet, no smoking or any vices, and maintain a healthy body. Studies have shown that those who have very long sitting hours and no regular physical activity have an increased risk of premature deaths. So this is how to sit less. You have to stand up for a few minutes every half an hour, and as much as possible if you can stand up while doing work. So usually applicable gini siya sa mga aton offices. So they say that the average person will burn 1 calorie for every 20 steps. And it is proven that walking 10,000 steps can actually burn 500 calories and could have all these benefits in the body. So again, aim for at least 30 minutes per day of moderate intensity physical activity, just as what I've mentioned earlier. So you can do walking, biking, or swimming. So who among you sleep for 8 hours a day? Sleep is essential. It is vital for maintaining good mental health and physical health. So how much do we need to sleep? For adults 19 years old and above, it is 8 hours. 8 hours is important because studies have shown that lack of sleep can lead to increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, and stroke, as well as decreased immune functions. Just some trivia. It says here that just a 6-minute nap or sa ilonggo pa do nag-iglip ikaw can help improve your memory, and that isa pa ka trivia that you'll die faster without sleep than with no food. So that's how important sleep is. We need to have adequate hours of sleep in order to improve our memory. Kay di bala if wala kita tulog, daw hindi kita mayo kapanumdum, and daw hindi kita ka-focus. And if we have enough sleep, we are not stressed. Studies have shown that if hindi kita katulog, we tend to eat more, midnight snacks kita, and so gain kita weight. That's why we need to have good quality of sleep, and that is 7 to 8 hours. Lack of sleep causes 20% of vehicular accidents. Those who don't have enough sleep are more likely to gain weight. They have poor memory and cannot fully function at work and have mood swings. So this is to show you on how to have better sleep. It is important to have a regular bedtime and waking time. Hindi na magkaon before magtulog, avoid caffeine, fatty foods, and mga sugars, kaya this can cause insomnia or hindi ka katulog. Do exercise every day para naming circulation sang lawas, and if possible, turn off your gadgets before sleeping because the more na may ginalantaw or may ginatext, gadula ang katuyhon. And those na may mga insomnia, study shows na maski 10 minutes lang na sunlight every day can help improve sleep. Heart disease, stroke, and cancers are still the leading causes of death because of smoking. I will not ask if sino sa inyo ang kapanigarilyo. But if you are, I hope after our discussion, you will be able to try to quit or to stop smoking. So why do we need to stop smoking? Because there are 700 chemicals found in cigarette, 200 known poisons or hilo sa lawas, and 69 carcinogens or substances na nagakos ng cancer. So ma-imagine nyo if this goes inside your body and this is just with one cigarette. Studies have shown that if you quit smoking under age 35 years old or kung mas bata ka nga nag-stop smoking, you decrease your risk of having a heart attack by 90%. But if you will quit when you are over 35 years old, you will only have 50% decreased risk na atakihon ka sa corazon. So in short, the younger you are, that you'll stop smoking, the better. So again, the harmful effects of smoking is actually multi-organ or in short, sa bilog nga lawas. it doubles the risk of heart attack. So ma-imagine mo, overweight ka na, unhealthy pang ginakaon mo, wala ka exercise, ka panigarilyo, no? Tiubos mo na tanan and good luck na lang. And of course, the most common are lung cancers. Almost 80% of lung cancers are from smoking. So let's move on to your next favorite, especially this holidays. So let me just ask you, who among you never tasted beer or wine? I'm sure almost majority nakatry man, inom or maski wine lang. Actually, there are studies that says that wine or beer have some health benefits only if in moderation. They say wine contain antioxidants that is helpful in the body. But just like smoking, alcohol is also an addiction. And if in excess in the body, it is actually a toxin. It harms almost every part of the body. There are studies that says that too much alcohol can weaken your immune system. It affects the way the brain works, so it changes your mood, behavior, and sometimes it causes coma. In the heart, it causes high blood pressure and increase in heart rate. In the stomach, it causes bleeding, and the most common, and I've mentioned in my previous slides, it causes liver damage or cirrhosis. So again, this is just to show you that like smoking, the effects of alcohol is multi-organ. Almost all organs are affected. Next, we will talk about stress. So sino sa inyo ang wala gid kaagi stress? I'm not sure if na-remember nyo pa ang question ni Boy Abunda. Tubalano sa aton candidate sa Binibining Pilipinas, ang sano, nahambal niya, when is it okay to be not okay? There are studies that says that we also need stress in our lives because a little stress can stimulate our immune cells to have a good antibody response. So okay lang ni siya. But it's not okay if this stress will already cause us distress. In short, miserable ka na, hindi ka nakatulog, nadula na imo mga friends, kamasakit ka na, alcoholic ka, gapabaya ka sa imo kinakaon. And just a trivia, hindi bala kung balis ka doon mo ang stressed with an ED nga word, it reads desserts. So amo na siguro why nga na kung stress kita, gakaon kita dayon sa mga desserts or mga matamis. So anyway, let's move on. Again, there are studies that says that if we are too much stressed, we release a hormone called cortisol na ini gapahina sang aton resistensya and will cause a number of diseases like infection, heart attacks, and stroke. And there are also studies that showed that those people who have depression or anxiety due to stress will have more risk of heart attack or stroke. So again, this is just to show you the effects of stress is again multi-organ. Like for example, if we have too much stress, the released cortisol that I've mentioned earlier makes our blood sugar levels high, hyperventilate kita or gadasig ato niyang paginawa, which impairs our blood circulation. It causes abnormalities in our digestion, ga-LVM ka or gasuka. Ang iban budlayan magbusong sa mga babae kung stress sila. And there are also studies that says that stress can even cause cancers. But of course, we cannot avoid stress. Kada isa sa ato may mga problema, most especially subong nga may COVID and just recently ang bagyo pa nga si Odette. So we need to handle these problems or stress. So ako maging ubra-ubra ko nga vitamins para sa stress. Ini ang vitamin R and it stands for rest, recreation, reconnect, and reflect. We should take time to rest. Kung kulang sa tulog, take time to have quality sleep. Recreation, take a break, change your environment. Like for example, kung sa office, ang imo nga stressor, you can go to a more peaceful place where you can relax and breathe. Reconnect, dapat you should have somebody to talk to like your friends, family, kay budlay na madalman and you will fall into depression. And lastly, for me, this is very important, this is to reflect. Pray and talk to God, or if Muslim ka kay Allah. And if the hopeless na gid, as what Father Orbos nung isa ka pare have said, BTS ko but not the Korean band. This stands for believe, trust, and surrender na lang gid tanan sa Ginoo. So to summarize, these lifestyle diseases can definitely and absolutely be prevented by having a healthy lifestyle. So what is a healthy lifestyle? It means eating good, healthy, and balanced diet. You exercise regularly, you quit smoking or alcohol, and you are happy and at peace with yourself and others. Of course, we emphasize healthy eating by reducing the amount of bad fats we eat and having animal proteins in moderation and eating mostly plant-based foods such as vegetables, grains, and fruits. A healthy lifestyle means you are happy with yourself because you are free of illness and you get to do the things that you love to do and enjoy. So before I end my lecture, I'd like to show you this slide. And for you, how do you define a good life? We may define this differently. Some may define it as having all the money, power in this world. Some may define it as being successful. But for me, a good life means finding the purpose and meaning in your life. A life of happiness, joy, and good health. A life where you are in good relations with your family, friends, co-employees. A life where you are able to do the things that makes you happy and contented because you are healthy and strong. A life where you are hopeful, grateful, and faithful to your God. I think every one of you will agree that nowadays in this time of pandemic, it's not more of the material things that matters, no? Di ba lasubong, we usually say, babayin na lang da ang kwarta or ang lagaw-lagaw, basta buhi lang kag mayo lawas naton, especially aton pamilya. So I hope with my lecture, I was able to inspire and enlighten you on the importance of having a healthy lifestyle in order to prevent these chronic diseases. And I hope you will always think of your purpose, why you want to be healthy. I'm sure para ina sa inyo nga mga pamilya, because I know ang iban breadwinners, ang iban gagmay pang kabataan, so paano na lang kung magmasakit ang ginikanan. And of course, para gid sa inyo lawas that you will be able to achieve your purpose and happiness in life. So actually, it's your choice, no? You choose to continue your bad and unhealthy habits, you will reach the dead end. Because if you have terminal illnesses such as cancers or stroke, renal failure, or diabetes, hindi ka naka-enjoy, no? You have poor quality of life, bulong na lang ang gabuhi sa imo, and asta ka na lang gidira. But if you choose to start doing the healthy choices, you'll definitely move on to more years of a better, healthier, and a good life. So for those of you who think that choosing to be healthy is difficult, challenging, and even impossible, just start to do it and go back to your purpose, because nothing is impossible until it is done. So thank you, and I wish you all a better, happier, a good, and a healthy life. Merry Christmas, and God bless us all. Marts, kasi na-disconnect wala siya. Sige lang kuwakal.